I know what you're thinking. Z-Man, what's going on? What's all this? Why does it look higher? Well, guess what? New bed. I have gotten a new bed since the last time I've recorded a video, which was, I believe, Brack Show Season 1. So yeah, I got a new bed. So it definitely may take a bit of adjusting if you have watched all my videos, or at least some of them up to this point, but I digress. This is just going to change. Change is a part of life. Deal with it, bruh. As for the show of interest, we are taking a look at Dinosaurs. A very bizarre, I shouldn't say bizarre, but definitely an unusual show, at least from the outside looking in. Sure, it may seem like a normal sitcom, but it's about, well, dinosaurs. I mean, come on, really, how much amazing content can you do with that? Well, let's see. At the outskirts, it doesn't really look that simple. It looks simple enough. You have Earl, the dad, his wife Fran, his questioning son Robbie, his daughter Charlene, and the baby, who doesn't have a name. Well, and also later we establish Fran's mother, who's just the grandma, who, because she's a mother-in-law, obviously all mothers-in-law have to, or parents-in-law in general, have to hate the dad character for some reason, because that's just a thing shows do for some reason. 13 episodes or so, even though it definitely took me way longer than it should have to watch through all these because of personal stuff, personal things going with me. But now, as it's 1 in the morning, but whatever, I'm still going to do it. Pushing through. Episode 1, The Mighty Megalosaurus. Earl tells the story of what life was like before his new baby. So, for episode 1, pretty basic, 3 out of 5. What's there to really say about this episode other than it's just watchable? It's a watchable episode. There's really not much to it. It really does kind of just feel like a basic sitcom, which is a shame because I've heard a lot of people say, and one of the reasons I was even interested to check out this show is because apparently Dinosaurs has some solid social commentary in there. Does season 1 represent that? Because there's like 4 seasons of the show. I'm not sure if season 1 represents that, but for right now, for episode 1, it really doesn't. Which, that's fine. You know, episode 1 establishing the characters. Don't really have much to say about this one, though. Well, it's just Earl, like, trying to talk about having to deal with a new baby, the possibility of a new baby. Loses his job. He talks to someone who's supposed to be his food. Honestly, his interactions with this food are easily the highlight. They definitely make the episode better. All in all, watchable episode. Don't have a ton to say. 3 out of 5. 2. The Mating Dance. Fran is unhappy with her life because of Earl, so Earl relearns the mating dance. I really don't have much to say about this one either. 3 out of 5. I know it's almost 2 in the morning, and I'm trying to get my brain functioning, but I also genuinely don't have much to say about this episode. It's a pretty typical one as well, with the wife character being / mother character being like, you know, life is tough for me, which, I mean, yeah. I mean, given that the husbands in these shows are usually very dim-witted, yeah. I mean, it's a bit of sexism, but I guess in the context of the show, yeah, I see your point. There's really not a lot to say, though. It's really kind of just that. It's kind of just, yeah, at first you think it's the kids, but oh no, sure, it's revealed it's actually Earl, and he has to relearn the mating dance. So the ending with Earl taking care of the baby is actually pretty cute. It's easily the best part of the episode. Once again, the ending part being like the best. But still, another pretty standard sitcom plot with sadly very little to be done to really make it interesting. 3. Hurling Day. It's hurling day and Earl's overjoyed to throw his mother-in-law into the tar pit, but Robbie's confused about its purpose. Okay, so this is still a 3 out of 5, but it's easily like the best of the season so far. seeing Robbie being like, "Yo, why are we doing Hurling Day?" It was good, and his relationship with his grandma, this is her first appearance, by the way, is nice. We clearly see it's clear Robbie really does care about his grandmother, and in general, one of Robbie's big, one of the things Robbie does the most in the show is he questions stuff. We will see this a couple more times throughout this season, but this is the first time. I do like the flashback scene where this old guy is like, I can no longer lead the pack. You have to throw me into the tar pit. And one of the people's like, how about if we make this exciting? How about we make it our mother-in-laws? How about we throw in our mother-in-laws too? And it's just, I probably didn't say the quote fully right, but in the context of the episode, it's actually pretty funny. Yeah, like these episodes are occasionally funny, but again, I'm still giving it a 3 because most of it is just kind of just sitting there being like, okay, yeah, it's fine. Again, I don't have a ton to say about an episode, which I really don't have anything to say about any of these episodes so far. I'm just gonna mostly just skip through them because I really hate going on about a million years about something I don't have anything to talk about. This episode had some good ideas. It's a very watchable episode. I just wish it was a bit funnier so I could call it back properly good. 4. High Noon. Fran meets a guy named Gary who challenges Earl for a duel to get Fran. 3 out of 5, but honestly the worst one. A lot of it is just Earl being scared about Gary because apparently Gary's really big. Again, by the time we see Gary, the episode's almost over. It's like you already kind of wasted most of it. Don't even really have much to say. Here, I'm gonna look. You know what? As I've already said a couple times, I do usually write down favorite moments. Here are some of the favorite moments I wrote down for High Noon specifically to show how not horrible, but also not that many great moments are in these episodes. Grandma's threat to the baby in the beginning of the episode. Earl saying, "I'm not." Earl's quote of terror has a new name, Gary. Earl trying to keep the calendar up so he doesn't have to fight Gary. Earl being conflicted on what shirt he should wear, even though it's the same shirt. And Baby reenacting how the fight will go down with his toys, pretty much assuming that Gary will win and beat his dad. Again, these moments sound funny, but then you watch the episode and you realize, oh wait, this barely makes up the episode. Which I don't want to be mean. I know the show is very expensive. I'm pretty sure that's why it didn't even go for longer anyway. But just personally, as a teenager watching this in 2025 who did not grow up with this show, I just don't think it's all that funny. But more power to you if you still enjoy these specific episodes. So far, this is kind of a not for me type of show. Which is a shame because I love Family Matters, which is also like a early season 1 of Family Matters, and that's also like a sitcom. 5. The Howling. Earl takes Robbie to join his howling group. My bad on that one. But Robbie questions it, and when they don't howl, dinosaurs start bickering. Okay, so I'm giving this a 3 out of 5, and honestly, this is one of the best episodes so far because of how weird it is. At first, it's kind of more of like Hurling Day. Just Robbie questioning, why are we doing this howling thing? Why are male dinosaurs howling at the moon? Like, what's up with that? But nah, once it turns into them, around like the middle to like endish point of the episode when it turns into the dinosaurs, actually genuinely fighting each other because they weren't howling at the moon, it's like, okay, and they only missed one day, by the way. It wasn't even like an entire month or anything. Just one day. It's so weird, but the weirdness kind of makes me like it more. Like, hey, so far the show's mostly just kind of been your standard sitcom. Doing a bizarre episode like this at least makes it more memorable and has more to talk about. So yeah, at first you think the episode would be kind of be like Hurling Day once again, talking about how old traditions, maybe you don't need to always follow them. But no, the moral is that they was right, and Earl's like, I'm not sure why we do it. It's like, I guess something I've always kind of, done. and I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on this, but I think when remembering the episode, you talked about like his religion, Earl's religion or something. But when watching the episode, I do not get that. Like, I don't get this final statement at all. Earl, you obviously have a reason to do Howl at the Moon. Everyone in all the people in the dinosaur village just start bickering without it when you don't. It's honestly really weird, but again, that weirdness just makes it more memorable and therefore a better episode compared to most of the others. Again, that's just my personal philosophy on it, on ranking episodes, but yeah. Still only a 3, but it's definitely a memorable one. I actually had some stuff to talk about with it, so 6, The Golden Child. Baby gets a horn on his head and becomes king, which makes him get taken away. Okay, good episode. I actually thought this was a good episode. And I think the reason why is because it actually shows the family like actually caring for each other. Up to this point, I wouldn't say the family hated each other or anything. It's not like, say, like middle season Family Guy where all the characters act like they hate each other and it just gets really annoying. But we don't really get a ton of moments where we actually get some sentimentality. Which I know a lot of people don't really like corny stuff, and I understand that. But personally, especially if it's a show about like a group of characters or I guess a family for this show and a lot of other shows cases, it's like if you want me to care about this family, make it so that way the family actually like each other, and we get examples where they do anything for each other. And this episode finally does that. We finally get to see an example of it. And it's honestly good because like the baby, he grows a horn after getting like a whole sugar rush, which was honestly a really fun scene in general. It was pretty entertaining. The baby in general he's like pretty much the show's mascot, and I can kind of see why. He usually tends to get some of the funnier moments in episodes. Not always, but still probably one of the better characters. So seeing him already get a magic horn, and we actually get to see a bit more to him. Like in this episode, he's a bit more than just a one-liner machine, which is good. It helps develop him more, and also helps develop Earl's relationship with him. Because up to this point, especially back in episode 1, it was established that Earl really did not want a new baby. But now when baby's taken away, Earl's like, oh wait, I actually really wanted to spend time with my new son. Like it's good. Again, if you're not into like corny stuff, or I guess just a dad wanting to care about his son, and they're also dinosaurs because, then you probably won't care. But I care about this type of thing. I actually, unless it's like, unless it's like, say It's Always Sunny as an example, where you're supposed to not like the characters. Unless you're purposefully not meant to like them, then I want to find a reason to care about your main characters, or at least find them interesting. And this episode does that, and is also just generally a bit funnier to boot. A good episode, 4 out of 5. 7. Family Challenge. When a meteor hits the TV, the family are forced to bond until Earl signs them up for a game show. Honestly, another 4 out of 5. Surprisingly, back-to-back good episodes. Definitely something I'm happy to hear. Basically, this feels like an episode that's actually more relevant now than it was back in like the early 90s when this episode was made. Because even back in the early 90s, people were already being like, man, people are just TV nowadays disrupting actual family conversation. And it's like, and now we're in 2025 where people, all they do is just will go on their phones and just don't even interact with the real world, which really annoys me personally. But I guess me making a YouTube video and having you watch it is you not spending time with your family or people you care about. So, oopsie, my bad for kind of helping. Actually, what do I mean by helping? I only have like 14 subscribers. Barely anyone watches my content. What am I talking about? Anyway, this is a good episode. Again, this is the first episode where it actually had like some good social commentary to it. And I think that's important because, again, that's like one of the things people always say about the show. It's good. And the ending where Earl realizes he actually genuinely liked being with his family and didn't just, try to use them to get a new TV, which was the price for the game show, was nice. Again, also, just a funnier episode to boot. Like, it doesn't have to be all sentimental. Just get funny. Get funnier. Like, I love Family Guy, and Family Guy I only really love it because it's funny. Like, not everything has to be sweet. Like, if you just tell some good jokes like this episode does, and maybe throw in a bit of heart, that's all you really need for me. I'm sorry if I ever sound picky in these videos. It's just my taste. And this episode has it, bro. It has it going on. You can tell it's 2 in the morning. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm actually a bit crazed. 8. I never ate for my father. Hey, 8. Episode 8. Okay, I'll stop. Robbie thinks about being a herbivore, which upsets Earl. Okay, so one of the dinosaur videos I've seen for a couple of times now, well before watching this show for the first time, was Cinemassacre, aka Angry Video Game Nerd. This was not an Angry Video Game Nerd episode, it was just James Rolfe himself reviewing dinosaurs. He specifically talked about this episode, saying how weird it was. So I finally decided to just check. So now that I finally get to watch it, what do I think? It's a surprisingly another good one. And I don't have a ton to say other than it's pretty much just it's pretty much just talking about like Robbie wanting to have like an alternative lifestyle, which is kind of just a weird idea for an episode. Like it's clearly a metaphor for Robbie being a herbivore is clearly just in one scene it seriously implies that it's like a gay thing. One of the a prey like a piece of food talks to Earl and Robbie, and it's like and he talks to Robbie, and it's like, what's wrong with him? Is he a veggie? And given that I just said this kind of sounds like it's being a herbivore, kind of as a gay representation, saying veggie is a very, I hope you know what word that sounds similar to. And then in one scene also make it sound like it's like drugs, like going to broccoli. I can understand carrots, but broccoli? Like, so I'm not fully sure what the message here is, but all I knew is that, but it's in general a good episode about Earl and Robbie bonding as father and son. That's the important part. And again, the bizarreness makes it funny. Good episode. Not as good as the past 2 episodes, but I still give it a good rating, a 4 out of 5. Okay, I'm gonna start speed running through a few of these episodes because again, I just have like almost nothing to talk about, and again, it's 2 in the morning. And even if it wasn't 2 in the morning, I don't like saying a lot about episodes I don't have a lot to say about. Sounds basic-ish. 9. Charlene's tail. Charlene grows a tail, and Earl's worried that her daughter's growing up. 3 out of 5. I like the idea of like using the fact that they're dinosaurs as a way to represent Earl, like a classic sitcom premise, like Earl not wanting Charlene to grow up. Problem is execution, and that is just it feels they don't really do much funny with it. 3 out of 5. It's watchable. A few good moments. Like Charlene just straight up insulting the baby. And then Earl and all his other like fellow employees just waiting for lunch was also decently funny. And in general, Fran and her mother, who's just the grandmother's different like tactics to talking with Charlene about like her tale was actually decently good and actually feels very realistic. So I'll give the episode that. Other than that, though, another just watchable episode. 10 endangered species. Earl gets Fran some food for their 20th anniversary. However, Robbie realizes that they're the last 2 on Earth, so he tries to protect them. 2 out of 5. I feel like out of all the other videos I have of my channel, I feel like people who watch this video may have also seen my Family Matters video. And if you remember from that video, I didn't like the episode Straight A's. I thought that was a mediocre episode. And I think after watching this one too, and this also getting a 2 out of 5, making this easily the worst episode so far, I think I just don't like sitcom episodes where they kind of try to teach you a very obvious moral. Because this is obviously like a saving endangered species message, which again, I agree with the message. I just don't want to see it in my TV show. Also, the creatures themselves, the endangered species, was annoying. They had very annoying voices and very annoying mannerisms. One of them hitting the baby was like one of two good jokes in the episode. I don't have much to say, honestly. Just a mediocre episode. Really, really boring. And also is another one about Robbie questioning something about their culture, which we've also just seen already a few times, and was done better, like pretty much all of those to other times. 11, Employee of the Month. Earl creates the idea of Employee of the Month. Meanwhile, Robbie brings him a pet caveman. 3 out of 5. Two different stories, both of them mid. Earl creating Employee of the Month that just causes his boss to be like, I'm going to go over to your house for dinner. Then he never shows up, and the episode never explains why. He just doesn't. Though I will admit, the little clock animation of showing his boss not showing up was funny, especially with Earl in the exact same pose the entire time. So that was at least a good joke, to be fair. Then we also have the B plot about which was about Robbie just bringing home a pet caveman. Which, okay, this is the first time and spoiler alert, the only time in the season where they kind of just have a random B plot like this. It doesn't really connect much to the A plot. And in my opinion, like I'm perfectly fine when a show has an A plot B plot structure and the plots don't really have a ton connecting it. I just feel like it was only thrown in because they had like very little to do with elsewise in this episode. So just like, give Robbie how about we do something with the fact that cavemen are kind of seen as pets, and just make like a whole like side story about that. And it's also pretty And they don't even keep Sparky, the pet caveman, at the end. So the whole thing was pointless. 3 out of 5. Watchable, but nothing special. Almost kind of like that's just my opinion on this whole season at this point. 12. When food goes bad. Charlene takes care of the baby, and things get weird. Okay, so this is actually a good episode, 4 out of 5. All I'm going to do is explain the plot. Okay. It starts out simply enough. A simple episode about Charlene wanting to prove herself, mostly for money. So what she does is she is left alone with the baby, taking care of it. Technically, that was Robbie's job, but Robbie is going out with the fellas. So Charlene takes care of baby, and pretty much baby accidentally opens up the fridge and all these evil food try to pretty much kidnap baby and hurt Charlene and later also Robbie. Oh yeah, meanwhile the parents are on a date, and I guess Grandma's also going on a date, but we never see that. It sounds weird, but it's actually a good episode again because of how weird it is. Like, why didn't they get more weird? I hope seasons 2, 3, and 4 get weirder. That's honestly some of the better episodes because they're just fully embracing the bizarreness of the show. And it honestly creates a more interesting and more fun series. Sorry, I heard something. And to end things off, last episode, 13. Not sure if you saw my finger just now. Episode 13, The Clip Show. Some guy talks about dinosaurs. The animal, not the show. While clips from previous episodes play in between. Dude, it's a 1 out of 5. If you saw my Simpson bracket videos, you'll know that I don't hate clip show episodes. Again, I think I like them more than most people, but not this one. This one's just a 1 out of 5. Some dude very boringly talks about dinosaurs. Meanwhile, we just see clips from the season we already saw. If this was like season 3 or 4 episode, I'd kind of get it. But nah, we're only in season 1. You should not be making a clip show in your first season, guys. Season finale too. Yeah, no, they ended on their worst footnote possible. But that's the only truly bad episode of the lot, unless you also count Endangered Species with a 2 out of 5, which I personally don't consider it bad because it's only a 2, but still. Well, it's time for the ranking. Number 13, the obvious worst episode, is The Clip Show. Then, as the only 2 out of 5, we have Endangered Species. Then, for the 3 out of 5s, with 11 is High Noon, The Mighty Megalosaurus, Mating Dance, Employee of the Month, Charlene's Tale, The Howling, and the only 3 out of 5 to sneak its way into the top 5 is Hurling Day. Then for the 4 genuinely good episodes, the 4 out of 5s, When Food Goes Bad, I Never Ate for My Father, Golden Child, and Family Challenge, my favorite episode, and it's still just good. I'm very, very sad I didn't like this season. It only liked like 4 of the 13 episodes. Honestly, my main problem is just that I just didn't. The show felt a little too sitcom-y. Sure, Family Matters was more of a real sitcom. Honestly, it felt more like a real sitcom. But it actually had characters I liked and cared about. Dinosaurs is just kind of like, I don't know. It kind of just feels like it uses the gimmick of they're dinosaurs a little too much. At the same time, though, it is only season 1. I mean, I don't really like Seinfeld or Office's first seasons, but I'm still going to eventually get around to reviewing more seasons of it and hopefully finish the whole both of their shows. So I'm not going to let the fact I didn't really love season 1 that much or didn't even like it to stop me from continuing to review the show. Let me know your guys' opinions on Dinosaur Season 1 in the comments. Do you have a favorite or least favorite moment or episode? And without spoiling, please let me know your opinions on maybe some of the later seasons. I'm clearly very desperate for comments on these videos, and this is me mindlessly questioning is just my way of doing so. Thank you, and good night, America.